Now next we have acts and policies. Here we will be discussing the acts and policies which are related in Indian scenario. So in Indian scenario, what are the different acts that have been implemented? What are the different rules? What are the policies we are currently implementing? So we will be seeing them one by one. First is Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. After the Stockholm Conference, there was a wave that created awareness about the environment and the associated wildlife that were present in natural or man-made or in situ or ex situ situation. So the first act that was passed in 1972, it was Wildlife Protection Act. Okay, this contained 6 schedules specifying different parts with related to different flora and fauna. Second was in 1986, there was environmental upgradation, or there were consciousness about the environment. So this Environmental Protection Act 1986 was passed. Then after that there was a policy on national forest. So it was implemented in 1988. After that there was a Biological Diversity Act. There were some relation issues that were related to conservation of biodiversity. So it led to the formation of Biological Diversity Act 2002. Then after that there was Scheduled Tribes and Other Forest Dwellers Act 2006. And there was a recent amendment to it done in 2018. Okay, so it led to the passing of this act. After that, there were different issues related to coastal zones. There were different issues related to disposal of different kind of wastes, such as biomedical wastes. So there was a rules on that in 2016. There was issues related to management of e-wastes. So there was a rule for that in 2016. There was plastic waste management that was important. It came in 2016 as well. So this different rules, what they did, they gave an important management aspect, that how this waste should be disposed or how they could be recycled, how they should be collected. There were different color codings given to them, how they should be disposed. So there were color codings, which waste should be incinerated, which waste should be recycled, which waste should be burned out. So all these things were specified in these rules. Now there was Wetland Rules in 2010. Now for the conservation and management of wetland systems in India, the rule was framed. So it basically included the wetlands which were of importance and they were degrading due to one or the other issues. So there were rules made on that. Now in 2010 only there was National Green Tribunal formed. Now this National Green Tribunal was formed to take over the issues related to the environment, and they were disposing cases arising due to the environmental concerns. If these issues were unsolved by the NJT, then those were taken over by the Supreme Court. So that was NJT, National Green Tribunal. Now there was a rule on the ozone depleting substances. Ozone depleting substances. We have seen earlier that what is ozone depletion, what are the different aspects of ozone depletion, how the ozone is depleted, what are the different pollutants which are playing a major role in the depletion of ozones. So there was a rule made for this thing. Basically, it included the reduction in the use of certain type of refrigerants or HFCs, CFCs. So CFCs has to be limited within a limited time duration. So these were basically the rules. Now next we will be saying a question. So the question is of 2 years. The question is, I think this is 2020, and this is of Animal Welfare Board of India is established. This is around 2014 or 15. Okay, so this is the latest question. This is earlier question. Now we will see, consider the following statements. First thing, 36% of India's districts are classified as over-exploited or critical by the Central Groundwater Authority. Okay, the question here is on Central Water Authority. Now, if I will take this point and if I'll come over here and I'll see just the statements of the question, then it is asking about Animal Welfare Board of India is established under the Environmental Protection Act 1986. First statement. Second statement is National Tiger Conservation Authority. Okay. Third statement is National Ganga River Basin Authority, and whom it is chaired by. So if we will see the types of questions that are being framed, so it is just asking the policy or act and the authority which is being formulated or being made for the implementation of that particular policy. We have a groundwater issue, so there is groundwater authority. It is controlling and implementing that policy or the framework or structure of that policy. Now, second option here is the Central Groundwater Authority was formed under the Environment Protection Act. Okay. Now, third statement is India has the largest area under groundwater irrigation in the world. Okay. Now, this should come in third next line. Which of the statements above given is or are correct? So, if I will see the statements correctly, then I can see that I know that this statement is right. That how it was formed. It was formed under the Environmental Protection Act 1986. After that, it is saying that India has the largest area under groundwater irrigation in the world. So this statement is also correct. There are various reports which are specifying. Even the Indian reports are also specifying this thing. So these two statements are correct here. If I look into the options, then there is only one statement which is correct about it. Now about the first statement, 36% of India's districts are classified as overexploited or critical by the Central Groundwater Authority. Actually, this 36%, it has been over exemplified. It is around 18%. So this statement is here wrong. Okay. Now next statement of 2014 that we'll be saying here is, consider the following statements. Animal Welfare Board of India is established under the Environment Protection Act 1986. Okay, first statement. Then second statement, National Tiger Conservation Authority is a statutory body. It is asking that is it a statutory body. Now third statement is National Ganga River Basin Authority is chaired by Prime Minister. If you would have gone through the news or would have seen the things, then this statement is correct. Okay. Third statement is correct. Now, if we'll see closely, then National Tiger Conservation Authority, it is also a statutory body because Central Groundwater Authority, CGWA, it is also a statutory body. So the bodies, how they are made, under which policies it is made. So those bodies become statutory bodies. Now, first statement is Animal Welfare Board of India is established under the Environment Protection Act of 1986. So this statement, if I'll see closely, then we can find that. So here we can see that the first statement, Animal Welfare Board of India is established under the Environment Protection Act 1986. Here the Animal Welfare Board, it was established under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960. So this statement here is incorrect. So by eliminating the options, we can see the correct statement is 2 and 3 only. But if we will see the nature of these two questions, then we can simply exemplify that there are questions on the authority, and it is asking that the authority is statutory or non-statutory, and it is formed under which policy or which act. So we need to have a very narrow understanding of these policies or the authority agencies, those are being implemented under the acts or being on the policies. So this we will be saying, they will be saying another question. Okay, so we have a question of 3 years. Now there is two question on 17 and one question on 2020. Here what is being asked, that we have Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Okay. So first question of 2017 consists of Schedule 1. Okay. Now second 2017 question, it asks for, according to the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, which of the following animals cannot be hunted and cannot be hunted by the any person except under the same provisions provided by the law. Okay, so hunting of animals, can it be permitted or not permitted under the act? Now thirdly, in 2020 it is asking about the Schedule 6 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So in these three questions we can find one similarity, that the same question on Wildlife Protection Act 1972 is based on three different conditions. Two times it has asked about the Schedule 1 and Schedule 6, and one time it is asking about the content of the schedule, that which animal can be hunted or it cannot be hunted on the basis of this act. So we will see the statements of the question. So first statement will be saying, it enjoys the same level of protection as the tiger. Okay, for Schedule 1, if tiger is kept in Schedule 1, then any animal which will be kept in Schedule 1, it will be enjoying the same status. So this statement is correct. Second statement will be saying, it no longer exists in the wild. A few individuals are under captive protection, and now it is impossible to prevent its extinction. So what it is saying, that I'll repeat the statement, it no longer exists in the wild. So the animal coming under this schedule does not exist in the wild. So it is not likely situation. There are many animals which are protected under Schedule 1, but they exist in wild. So this statement here is wrong. Now third statement will be saying that it is endemic to a particular region of India. If an animal is endemic to particular region, but if it is found somewhere else, then it is not a criteria for it to be included in Schedule 1. So this statement is also wrong. So D option is, both B and C stated above are correct in the context. So this statement is also wrong. So we have answer here as statement A. Now in 2017 condition, we will see another question, that which of the following animals cannot be hunted by any person except under same provisions provided by the law. So we will be seeing options here as gharial, Indian wild ass, and wild buffalo. So if we will be seeing them, then we can see that gharial, it is included in Schedule 1. So it cannot be hunted down. So I will eliminate option 1, C and D altogether. Okay, and Indian wild ass, there were previous questions on Indian wild ass also. So Indian wild ass is basically, it is also included in Schedule 1 or Schedule 2. So this cannot be hunted. So basically, if I'll go through elimination technique, then all of them cannot be hunted in wild. Okay. So here option will be D, 1, 2, and 3, that none of them can be hunted. Now 2020 question we can see, it is asking, if a particular plant species is placed under Schedule 6 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, what is the implication? So Schedule 6, what is Schedule 6? We will be seeing that the option is, a license is required to cultivate that plant. Okay, first statement. Second statement is, such a plant cannot be cultivated under any circumstances. This is statement 2. Statement 3 is, it is genetically modified crop plant. And statement 4 is such a plant is invasive and harmful to the ecosystem. Okay. Now, Schedule 6, we have the, the schedule list of all the floras. Okay. All the plant species which are present are being included in Schedule 6. So, which plant can be traded, which plant cannot be traded, which plants can be growth can be grown under licensable conditions. These all are specified under the Schedule 6. So basically, if I know a very little aspect of this thing, then I can just strike it as a license is required to cultivate that plant. Because if you will see that there are certain kind of plant species like certain weeds which cannot be produced in normal conditions or circumstances. They require a controlled production. So their production is made through license systems. Okay. So this was the question based on Wildlife Protection Act, which is having different kind of conditions or situations. Now, next situation we have here is institutions and measures. So, what are the different institutions and what measures they are taking for the improvement of the environment? So, here first is National Wildlife Action Plan. So, it is basically for improving the conditions of wildlife. So, flora and fauna. Basically, it is for fauna. So there are various kind of plans that are being implemented. Like we have seen earlier, there is Project Tiger, Project Elephant, Snow Leopard Project, Project Crocodile. So these are being implemented under National Wildlife Action Plan. Second thing is National Afforestation and Eco Development Board. So this board is developed for the implementation of various policies that are important for afforestation. So, under different conditions, there are different policies for afforestation. For example, there are community forest reserves, there are state forest reserves, there are national forest reserves. So, how these are working for the improvement of environment, those will be covering here. Then there is camper program, there is joint forest management, there is social forestry. What is social forestry? There are different societies which are coming together for growing forests. So those comes under the social forestry. There is National Bamboo Mission. Earlier, the bamboo was considered as a tree, but 2 to 3 years back, it was included as a grass. Okay, so this grass, if they are out of the reserved forest areas, this can be grown, cultivated, and traded. So it is under National Bamboo Mission. It is also called as green gold. So a policy is also made on National Bamboo Mission on the name of green gold. Then there is lighting a billion lives. There are action plans like National Clean Energy Fund. There are plans like National Mission for Electric Mobility. There are actions for Mangrove for Future. So these issues or these institutions, they what they do, they work for they make some plan. They make some plan of action. Now this plan of action are being made and they are implemented by some authority. So these authorities, what they do, they check that if the policies are being implemented or they are not implemented, if they are implemented correctly or they are not implemented correctly. So this is the work is being done by these institutions and these programs. Now next we have here is a question of 2012, 13 and 19. Now the question here is based on scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers, recognition of Forest Right Act 2006. Now there is same question here, the scheduled areas and the welfare of scheduled tribes. Now this is specified under the Article 275(1). Okay. Now third we have here question is the scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers, recognition of Forest Right Acts 2006. Same kind of question is being repeated in some different format or some different at some different situation. So first situation of 2013 we can see here as under the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006, who shall be the authority to initiate the process of determining the nature and extent of individual or community for forest rights or both. Okay, it is asking that who is the authority. So first is statement is State Forest Department. Second is District Collector or Deputy Commissioner. Okay, and third statement is Tehsildar or Block Development Officer or Mandal Reserve Officer. And fourth statement is Gram Sabha. If we have knowledge of this question, that if there are scheduled tribes and there are forest dwellers, then who is having more knowledge about this thing? So basically it is Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha is the authority to initiate the process of determining the nature and extent of individual or community forest rights or both. Okay, 2012 question will be saying as the National Green Tribunal Act of 2010. Okay, there was an act question we have seen before. There was Central Water Authority, Animal Welfare Board Act, okay, National Ganga River Protection Act. So this is one of the act also. It can be included with them. So this act, NJT Act 2010, was enacted in consonance with which of the following provisions of the Constitution of India? Now here it has included a political aspect also, like which article is included. So first statement is right to healthy environment, okay, construed as a part of right to life under Article 21. Right to life under Article 21, right to healthy environment. So if we have read about Article 21, so it is specifying right to life. Now this right to life is specified under different conditions. So basically here we were saying the provision of grants for raising the level of administration in the scheduled areas for the welfare of Scheduled Tribes Act under Article 275(1). So here if we will see that first statement is correct because the right to healthy environment, it is one of the sub part of right to life. So here it is specified under Article 21. And second statement, if we will see that provision of grants for the raising the level of administration in the scheduled areas for the welfare of scheduled tribes under Article 275(1). Basically, 275 includes the grants that is given from the Consolidated Fund of India to the states. So this fund specifies, the first part specifies the administration of the grants to the scheduled areas for the welfare of scheduled tribes. So this statement is also correct. So here we can see the statement 1 and 2 both are correct statements. Now of under 2019 we see a question that consider the following statements. The statement first is as per the recent amendment to the Indian Forest Act 1927. So what does it say? The forest dwellers have the right to fell the bamboos grown on forest areas. So it is specifying that it is forest areas. Now we will see the statement likewise. As per the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Right Act, bamboo is a minor forest produce. So the act specifies that under this act it is a minor forest produce. So this statement here it is correct. Now second thing is the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition Forest Rights Act 2006 allows ownership of minor forest produce to forest dwellers. Okay, so here we will see the situation that the same act, the question has been asked for three different aspects. So here if we can see here if we can see that statement 1, if we will see clearly that felling of bamboos which is grown on forest areas, it is not permitted. Okay, it is not permitted with which bamboo is grown in the forest area. So this statement here, it becomes incorrect. So we can eliminate 1 and D altogether. Now statement 2 and 3. Third statement will be saying the scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers recognition of forest rights Act 2006 allows ownership of minor forests produced to forest dwellers. So this statement here, it is correct. So the correct statement is option 2 and 3 only. Okay. So here we can see the demand of UPSC question that the same act, it has been asked for first in 2012, then 2013, then 2019. So we have to make an approach for this kind of question that yes, it can come in future, but the dimension of question, it can be uncertain. But by having the basic knowledge of that particular question or the statement, we can infer or we can make an inference about what can be asked in further examinations. Next, we will be seeing another question on 2015. See, in 2015, there were lots of questions on current affairs. So, one question of 2015 can be seen as first is on biocarbon fund and the second is on green climate fund. Okay, so there is a fund based question. So I will be reading the question 1 on biocarbon fund as initiative for sustainable forest landscapes is managed by, okay, it is managed by Asian Development Bank, option A. Option B is International Monetary Fund. Option C is United Nations Environment Program. And option D, it is World Bank. So if we have gone through the current affairs or basic aspect of this thing, then biocarbon fund, it is managed by World Bank. So it is easy. If you know that which body has created that fund, then we can answer this question easily. Same thing in 2015, we can see which of the following statements regarding the Green Climate Fund is or are correct. So it is us saying that first statement, it is intended to assist the developing countries in adaptation and mitigation practices to counter climate change. This is first statement. Second statement is it is founded under the aegis of UNEP first, second OECD, third Asian Development Bank, and fourth World Bank. Okay. So in same year, it is asking different funds with different bodies or which are the founders of this fund. So in this statement, it is this option is right that it is intended to assist the developing countries in adaptation and mitigations practices to counter climate change. Okay, we can assess this through the statement itself that it is Green Climate Fund. So it will be made available for tackling or mitigation and adaptation for practicing of counter counter climate change. So this option is correct. Now the second option we see here that it is founded under the aegis of UNEP, OECD, and Asian Development Bank and World Bank. So these many bodies are working together to found a single fund. So this is a wrong statement. So this is a wrong statement. The Green Climate Fund, it is being formed under an autonomous body. So here we can see that the option is A1 only. Next we will be seeing another question. The question here is of 2014 and 2016. The first question of 2014, it is asking about Bombay Natural History Society. And in 2016, it is asking about the initiative called the Economics of Ecosystems and Biodiversity, that is TEEB or TEEB. So it is asking that the UPSC is demanding that there is a society or there is an initiative. So we have to prepare this kind of questions also because they are current oriented. Current, current oriented. So we need to have a very basic strategy to tackle this kind of questions. Now 2014 question is asking that with reference to the Bombay Natural History Society or BNHS, consider the following statements. So first statement is it is an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Environment and Forests. So it is asking autonomous organization under the Ministry of Environment and Forest. If we will see into the aspects of this society, BNHS, it is an autonomous organization, but it is not under the Ministry of Environment and Forest. So this statement we can cross it. Now second statement is it strives to conserve nature through action-based research, education and public awareness. Okay, so it is acting on these things that it should have research, it should have education, and it should have public awareness. So this statement here it is correct. Now third statement is it organizes and conducts nature trails, nature trails and camps for the general public. Now, if we will see this option, then this option is also correct because Bombay Natural History Society, it conducts a lot of camps or trails to make people aware about the nature and its inclusion into its daily routine. So, if we will see, then option 2 and 3 are the correct options. Now, if we will see 2016 question, then I'll read the question as, with reference to the initiative called the Economics of Ecosystems and Biodiversity, which of the following statements is or are correct? So, the first statement here is, it is an initiative hosted by UNEP, IMF, World Economic Forum. So, first statement here is this is. Second statement is, it is a global initiative that focuses on drawing attention to economic benefits of biodiversity. Okay. Third statement is, it presents an approach that can help decision makers recognize, demonstrate, and capture the value of ecosystems and biodiversity. If we know something about the T program, then this initiative was taken by the Germany and the European Commission. So the first statement that UNEP, IMF and World Economic Forum were the initiatives, it is a wrong statement. So from this statement, I can eliminate A and D options here. But I can see that we have 2 and 3 only options. So I'll be seeing second statement as it is a global initiative for that focuses on drawing attention to the economic benefits of biodiversity. So from the statement itself, we can see that the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity, then this is a correct option. Now we have the third option also correct, that it's approach that can help decision makers to recognize, demonstrate, and capture the value of ecosystems and biodiversity. So making this approach, we can see that option C is the correct option here. So we can have different kind of questions in future also with regard to different societies or different initiatives that has been taken on regional or Indian or international organizations. So we have to make an approach for this kind of current oriented questions. Next, we will be moving further with another question. The question is based on 2021 and 2013 aspect. So if I will see that the 2021 question specifies that R2 code of practices, there is a code of R2 code of practices that constitute a tool available for promoting the adoption of. So options that it is giving, that statement A is environmentally responsible practices in the electronics recycling industry. Option B is ecological management of wetlands of international importance under the Ramsar Convention. Option C is sustainable practices in the cultivation of agricultural crops in degraded lands. Okay? And option D is environmental impact assessment in the exploitation of natural resources. Before answering this question, I will move to question number 13 of 2013, that what is the question and what should be its approach. Now question is asking, due to improper or indiscriminate disposal of old and used computers, improper and indiscriminate disposal of old and used computers or their parts, which of the following are released into the environment as e-waste? So the question here includes the e-waste and the old and used parts of the computers. So the options here are beryllium, cadmium, chromium, heptachlor, mercury, lead, and plutonium. If I will see these options, then I can see that beryllium is used in computers. Okay, it is used as a to produce some parts. Cadmium is also used in computers manufacturing. Chromium is also used in production in the computer manufacturing. It is kind of a lining to the surface of the computer. Now, option 4, mercury is also used for making the screens. Option 6 is lead. Lead is also used in computer manufacturing. Now, plutonium is also used in computer manufacturing. As it is, we can see that there are different power source for computers. So option 7 is correct. But heptachlor here we can see that it is an insecticide or it is used in agriculture. So basically this option is wrong. If I can eliminate this fourth option from these statements, then here it is in A, in C, and in D. So all these statements are wrong. So my option here becomes B, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. If I'll come back to 2021 question, then in this question, I'll see that the R2 Code of Practices, basically it was implemented for environmentally responsible practices in the electronics recycling industry. So this is the correct option. Now approach. Approach here is electronics recycling industry, and earlier it is asked in 2013 as disposal of old and used computers. So if a question that has been asked in previously with some kind of materials or minerals, then same question can be framed on practice or codes form or policy terms. So we have to make an approach for this kind of questions also. Now next we have environmental organizations. What are the different environmental organizations that are currently working? So first environmental organization that we can see here is Animal Welfare Board. So basically, why do we need this kind of environmental organizations? These organizations are required because some kind of species or animals, plants and trees included, are unable to sustain on their own, and they are being exploited because of the current change in the agricultural pattern, human settlement pattern, or the use of resources which are unavailable to them. It includes water, food, etc. So different boards are being created on the national and international levels. So first is Environmental Welfare Board. It is created for the welfare of animals. Then second is Central Zoo Authority. Central Zoo Authority is being created for the welfare of animals which are being held as captive, or it is one of the in situ practice. So, ex situ practice. Now, third is National Biodiversity Authority. National Biodiversity Authority, basically it includes the different biogenetics, that different gene pools are being available, and they are trying to conserve those biodiversity aspects which are being getting reduced in number. So it includes the conserving of different genetics of different biodiversity. Next is Crime Control Bureau. There are different animals and plants which are being traded illegally for their benefits, because of their benefits. So these plants and animals, they need to be conserved. their trade has to be restricted. So for restricting their trade, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau has been established. Now next is Lake Conservation Plan. National Lake Conservation Plan, what it does, that it makes a set of procedures for some kind of lakes. If the lake is being degraded, then there is a conservation action plan for the rejuvenation of that lake. So it is done by this thing. Now next is National Ganga River Basin Authority. Everyone is aware that how polluted now Ganga has become. So how to clean this river from its origination to its destination? So it runs through almost 11 states, and this river is polluted at each and every level. So we need a very solid management action plan so that this river can be purified. If we take the example of various rivers of different countries like Rhine, Rhode, Thames, or the rivers of North America, then they were also polluted around 50 or 100 years ago. But due to the conservation action plan that were made by the government of those countries, those rivers were made clean again. So in India, we are trying to rejuvenate or clean the Ganga river on the same basis. This we'll be seeing further in next lectures. Now next is International Environmental Conventions. Now, as we have seen few questions on the environmental conventions, there were a lot of questions that are being framed on like conferences on environment and development. Then there are convention on biological diversities. There are Ramsar Convention on wetlands, that which are the wetlands that are included, how these conventions were formed, sites, convention on convention on the trade of endangered species. So this we will be seeing. Then there is the Wildlife Trade Monitoring Network traffic. Then there is Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species. What are the migratory species? From where? What are their source destination? What are their destination of their staying? So we need to see and conserve those kind of birds and animals also. So if we can see, there are different kinds of conventions that are being asked in exam. So from there, we can see IUCN is also one of the favorite part of UPSC. Then there is Stockholm Convention. This convention includes the production of persistent organic pollutants, POPs. It is persistent organic pollutants. So this Stockholm Convention, it has made rules that how these persistent organic pollutants should be released in the environment. Then there is Basel Convention. Basel Convention is basically the transboundary movement of hazardous wastes. Similarly, there is Rotterdam Convention, that there is the transbound rules and regulations on transboundary movement of the hazardous wastes. So it includes a variety of wastes, that is solid, liquid, plastic, e-wastes. It also includes radioactive wastes. So we need to see that how these conventions are different from one another, in what aspects they are different. Next is United Nations Convention to combat desertification. Now we have seen that the last decade was the decade of desertification. So here what combating desertification means, we have we might have heard that there is conversion of agriculture or green land into barren lands. So what these barren lands are? These barren lands are called as desertified or degraded lands. So we need to stop these lands from getting degraded. So there are convention for that thing. Then there is Vienna Convention and Montreal Protocol. This convention is basically made for the depletion of the ozone layer. We have to prevent the depletion of ozone layer. So how this can be done? This can be done through prohibiting the release of certain kind of gases such as CFCs, HFCs, or refrigerant gases, etc. Now there was an amendment made to the Montreal Protocol, so which included different kind of gases to be eliminated or to be stopped from using in the different products. So there was a Kigali Agreement. Now there is globally important agriculture and heritage systems. This thing is important because there have been questions asked on the important agricultural heritage systems. Like in India, we have Pakuli system where the rice is grown for 6 months and the fish farming is done for 6 months. So there are various indigenous knowledges also, which are being practiced by tribal peoples across the world, which is important. So it includes it in the globally important agricultural heritage systems. And these systems are being transferred from generation to generation. Next is Minamata Convention. This Minamata Convention is basically for the prohibiting the use of mercury because it was causing the disease called blue baby syndrome. So this convention is based on mercury. Now we can see that there are various conventions, and with these conventions there are different environmental issues and health effects. So, what can be the different environmental issues and health effects? We have seen that there are different kind of pollutants that are being released into the atmosphere or in the environment. Now, these pollutants they get accumulated somewhere or elsewhere. Now they are being getting accumulated in plants and animals also. So first thing is toxicology effects. Means if an organism is ingested with some kind of pollutant, then what are the effects of that pollutant on that organism? This study is called as toxicology effect. Now, second thing is the lead in paints. The paints we are using in day-to-day life, it consists some amount of lead. Now, when this paint is getting scratched or is being scratched by children, it gets into the body, inside the body of that children. It leads to many harmful effects on that children or on that person. So there are various harmful effects like leads in paint. There are harmful effect of trans fats. What are trans fats? Trans fats is basically a unsaturated fat. An unsaturated fat, it takes a lot of time to get digested by a human digestive system. So this trans fat are now being included in various kind of products that are being sold in packaged item in the market. So if we will see a logo of any product, for example, a chips packet or some namkeen packet, or we can see some sweets also. It includes a section of trans fat, that how much amount of trans fat is included in that product. So WHO has specified that trans fat should not be more than 1% of the total content and it should be eliminated by 2 to 3 years. Similarly, FSSAI in India has also made rules and regulations for this trans fats that it should not be more than 5% in current scenario, and it should be decreased by 1% on year to year basis, so that it should be eliminated out of the current market systems. So it was trans fats. Next is high caffeine in energy drinks. Now what caffeine does is, if we intake a lot of caffeines, it basically reduces the metabolism of that person so that it it gets more energy. It increases the metabolism. So by increasing the metabolism by an additional factor like caffeine, it includes various side effects. It does what it does, it increases the heart rate of that person. So it is harmful. Now next is pesticide in human blood. This we can see that it is kind of bioaccumulation. In crops, for the in the agricultural system, we are using a lot of pesticides, insecticides, and chemical manures after the green revolution. Now with this duration of time of 60 years, the lot of pollutants or the pesticides which were being sprayed on the crops, they are being accumulated in Indian, in the human system, and it has now been accumulated in human bloods also. So we'll be seeing this things in further details. Now next is testing of pesticide toxicology. What are the different methods of testing the pesticides? So this will be seeing in more further lectures. Now next is diseases caused by environmental degradation. So what are the diseases that are caused by different kind of degradations like land degradation, water degradation, air degradation, food degradation or food pollution. So this will be seeing in further lectures. Now next is the National Wasteland Development Board. So what is basically the National Wasteland Development Board? There are different kind of waste that are being produced. So for the management of this kind of waste, there is an allotment of some kind of land for their management. So it is being done by the National Wastelands Development Board. Now next topic we will be seeing here is disaster management. Now disaster management is basically asked in the mains perspective. But in recent years, few questions on disaster management have been asked in prelims questions also. Like the effects are being related to some kind or other kind of pollutions. Like there was a release of some gas at Tamil Nadu, like sterling gas. So there might be question on that part. There can be question on beryllium. So beryllium was asked in UPSC. So if any kind of disaster happens, that is natural or man-made, but there might be some things or some pollutants that might be affecting the environment at that region. So we need to study this aspect also, that why this, what changes this disaster had made at that particular system or region. So we will be starting it by gas leak at Vizag. This will be studied in further details in the next lectures. Then there is cyclone warning system, that what can be the cyclone warning system, how it is being implemented, how it is being implemented in regional basis. If the boat is sailing on the sea and the cyclone is coming, then how they can be communicated with those boats. So these are being implemented likewise. The eye flow systems of Mumbai, like if the floods are coming because of the heavy rains, then how this system will be benefiting the people there. Then there are flash droughts. If the rain is deficient and for 15 to 20 days during the monsoon climate, then the crops are being affected on largely basis. So this study has been done through the flash droughts. Next is glacial lakes outburst floods. Now we have seen a recent example of Uttarakhand in the Ganga River. There was a glacial flood outburst, glacial lakes outburst floods. So due to which there was a large scale disaster. So we'll be seeing this kind, other kind of lakes also, where this kind of situation might be formed. Now there are landslides. Landslides are being seen in the Himalayan region and Western Ghats region. Why the landslides occurs? There was a question on mains 2021 on the landslides of the Indian system, on the Indian Himalayan or Western Ghat system. So it has been discussed and it will be discussed in detail further. Now next is forest fires. Forest fires is basically, you might have heard in news that there are large scale forest fires in world around, like in Amazon, in Australia, North America. In India also the forest fires occurs. And what this forest fires does, it just burns out the large scale of trees or grasslands and it leaves that area as unused or non-productive, or biologically its biodiversity decreases. So what are the effects of forest fires? Then there is heat wave concept. What are heat waves? Heat waves are basically if there is increase in temperature of that particular region by of beyond 45 degrees Celsius. If the region comes in cooler region, then if there is a sudden increase in the temperature of that region by 5 degrees Celsius, then it will be called as a heat wave. So we will be studying these aspects further. So basically this was the syllabus of environment, and it was being seen through few of the previous year's question papers. It has been seen through previous year's question papers. So basically, environment is a very dynamic topic. It includes a lot of specific things that are required, that are being demanded by UPSC. It includes static point also. It includes current affairs also, and it includes a very dynamic aspect that is being required in the examination. Now, what UPSC does, it increases or decreases the amount of questions as we have discussed it in this slide, that it increases or decreases the amount of question every year. So we can't say that this pattern can be seen through, or it can be exact. But what we can do here is we can see some basic concepts, or we can see some basic topics that are being asked repeatedly, and we can make those topics and we can that concepts very compact, so that if any kind of question comes on that aspect, then we can have a clear determination to clear that question and answer that question. For example, ecological concepts. Earlier there were very few questions, but there was 4 questions in 2021. So this kind of topics, we need to have a thorough knowledge. But how we can prepare them? We can prepare them through the approach of PYQs. So therefore, assessment and analyzing of previous year's questions is very important. But this analysis and assessment requires a huge amount of time. We at Guidance IAS will try best, and we are doing our best to make a very sublime course, so that you are giving your least effort through studying our course and material, and it will be provided to you by the Guidance IAS, because here a very efficient team is working to make the content very bright, and you will get the best out of it. Thank you.